Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Stahls TV Morning Show. I'll be rolling solo today. This is Josh Ellsworth, and I'll be your host, so I'm counting on you for lots of conversation and lots of questions. We have a topic today that's all about how to grow your sales in the category of heat printing. And just because we need I'd say a fair amount of time today to get through the content with some of the concepts and ideas, what we want to do is we want to kind of look at heat printing from a high level, because one of the important ways, one of the ways you can increase your sales is by understanding where heat printing stands out in general. It's going to allow you to form your business concepts, your sales and marketing approach out to different customers, and hopefully not only grow business, but sustain business and understand where your competitive differences are versus other technologies that may be out there and employed by other types of decorators. Or if you're one of those decorators that you do screen printing, embroidery, heat printing, you do it all, this will give you an idea of where to utilize heat printing maybe versus those other technologies. And then as we dive through that a little bit and uncover, I think, 8 high-level areas, towards the end, we're going to talk about the big buckets of product that are available to you when you're heat printing and help you understand what is the difference between heat transfer vinyl and screen printed transfers and digital transfers, and when should I be using each in order to make the most money possible for my business. So we are broadcasting live out of southwestern Pennsylvania. If you have questions, feel free to type those in. Good morning, Donnie. Good to have you on. Make sure you all shout out where you're watching from. We're always anxious to see people watching from across the country and really around the globe here on the Stahls TV Morning Show, broadcasting live on Facebook. So without further ado, I want to jump into my presentation, which is all about heat printing technology and where it stands out. And I have physical samples to show you that match up to most of these points. So when you look at heat printing, I've taken some of this content from various customer interactions and sales meetings, and we put together a marketing piece to look at the technology of heat printing. I want to say versus screen printing or versus embroidery, so you can kind of understand where it excels. And so when you look at it, it's definitely a print to order technology. That's the top point there. So what that allows you to do is merchandise a variety of looks in your store or on your website and print the transfer to the garment as it sells. And so it really helps you to, if you have a retail store, the print-to-order concept helps you to replenish a retail rack without the inventory risk if you wanted to sell pre-stock looks. If you're selling online, this is particularly beneficial, whether that's through your own e-commerce store, Etsy, whatever it may be, because it allows you to create a virtual sample or maybe create one of a look on each color and then take the order and print after receiving the order. So if you're able to call out a turn time, whether that's one day if you have the capacity. It seems like everything is shipped same day, so you're going to have to kind of queue up and be able to print these quickly, but it allows you to print to order. And that's one of the big benefits of heat printing. And so over to the right of the print to order concept, I've started to call out a little bit in more specific terms where I think you can leverage this concept. And so if you look at web stores, online web stores, so these are client-specific stores that are designed to grow sales. When we look at businesses that are growing, usually they're using some web store solution. This is why at Stahls we'll be launching our new Spirit Sale web store platform in the coming month for you to purchase. We've been in our VIP phase, but what this allows you to do, it allows you to spin up looks and launch a store for a particular school. So it could say A.L. Wilson Elementary, it could say Albert Gallatin High School, whatever it may be. And when you look at heat printing, in the print-to-order technology of it, there's a couple cool things about being able to print on demand. Number one is I can create this website with 5 to 7 looks, and I can make it to order. And so when you launch a web store, there are really 2 ways to launch a web store. One is you do an always open store, which basically means when somebody purchases from that store, whether it's a parent, a student, an athlete, whatever it may be, I'm going to print to order and ship every time. And then there's another type of store that a lot of folks seem to run and call it a flash sale, where the store is stood up, it's a pop-up store for a certain period of time. you collect over all of the orders over that period of time, and then you close it down, and you get the benefits that way of being able to batch manufacture. And the good news is heat printing is good for either of those scenarios. If you want to do the print to order, there's two ways to approach it. You can stock the screen printed transfers and just commit them to size and color when you receive the order. That's one good way to do it. But if you want to cut heat transfer vinyl, you can actually not commit the design at all as well and keep your inventory just in blank rolls of material, whether you're cutting or printing and cutting. We'll show you ways to approach that a little later in the presentation. So lots of options for print to order. It's very beneficial if you have a retail space, whether that's a brick and mortar location where you're replenishing racks and holding less printed inventory to eliminate that risk, or print to order in an e-commerce environment. So we would encourage you, if you're doing heat printing, look at those client-specific web stores and think about, how can I grow my sales there? Because schools and teams and even organizations that do employee sales tend to value that because it's their own environment where they can send folks to order, and it's just that little extra benefit that you can provide rather than just going and trying to sell them a bulk order on paper. That's the way things are headed. So let's look back at the presentation, and the thing I want to point out here is any quantity, even personalization. And of course I can do a single piece with heat printing, and of course I can do 1,000. At a certain quantity of the same graphic, it becomes beneficial to do direct screen printing as the method. But when we talk specifically about personalization, I called out there to the right, is personalization increases the revenue per item. So some ways that you can incorporate personalization onto your items: monograms, names. Usually we talk about player names, but kids' names are equally popular, or mom's name or grandma's name on the back of that support shirt that they're wearing to support their child that's participating in the sport or dance, whatever it is. Numbers are really popular as a heat printing method, and hashtags are becoming increasingly popular. So one way you can leverage this is you can launch a complete item that features monograms. So just being able to launch it and saying we can create this in as little as one. And that's beneficial in a couple of ways. One is the item is of course unique, and then also it allows it to leverage over into some gift giving opportunities. So when you think of holidays, whether that's Mother's Day, Father's Day, birthdays, whatever it may be, a personalized item is very popular. I mean, businesses have built complete multi-million-dollar businesses off of personalization on the engraving side of the business. We've seen the same on the heat printing side of the business. The idea that I can cut and apply just one is a secret weapon. So one thing that I would encourage you to do is think about, how can I use personalization on my normal printed item? So a lot of times you'll see personalization with the name on back of a t-shirt. In an online environment, you may offer that name for a $5 upcharge. And so while you're making a certain profit on the item, to become more profitable, start offering personalization areas on that item, and you can increase the value for sure. You can even tie that over into a campaign where you're using, people can create their own hashtag, whatever it may be, so you're appealing to a younger demographic and kind of making the apparel that you print a little hipper through personalization. So that's another way. So looking at heat printing as a high-level topic, I just want to welcome everybody that may be joining late. We have Melanie watching from Germany. Exciting to have you, Melanie. We have Donnie from Mississippi, Brian from Connecticut. We have Eddie from sunny San Diego. We're sunny here in Pennsylvania, but San Diego is one of my favorite places. We have Jean from Ann Arbor, and Tanisha from Dallas, Texas. Actually, I'll be in Irving, Texas, I want to say Sunday and Monday of this coming week. It's always exciting to visit our facility in Irving, Texas, and see what we're up to there. So we're talking about why heat printing is a way to leverage the heat press that you probably have in your shop in order to stand out from other print technologies. So one of the biggest benefits of heat printing, if we look at the presentation, is any fabric. And so when you look at the complexities to screen print on some of these items, embroider some of these thin, stretchable fabrics, there becomes some challenges. And even larger shops are intimidated to venture out and to do a lot of the different fabrics that you see coming into the marketplace. So the cool thing about heat printing is we like to say all of the technology is already built into the transfer. And one reason that makes things easier is because I simply need to know time, temperature, and pressure in order to get an accurate heat application onto any fabric. So fabrics such as nylon, whether that's a nylon jacket, whether that's performance wear, whatever it may be, it becomes extremely easy for me to decorate. And so one thing I would encourage you to do is over to the right there is merchandise some higher value items. Because what happens is when you sell a t-shirt, there's a certain profit that you're able to command per piece. So some people use the keystoning method on setting selling prices. I'm not a big fan of that because I think that leaves you short on your profit opportunity, especially when you can make a t-shirt for $5 or $6. Now I'm only selling it for 10 or 12. Maybe it can command a higher price, especially in a web store environment or with some personalization. But when you look at higher items and you start to talk about performance t-shirts, performance hoodies, even jackets, the idea that I can decorate those honestly just as easy if I have the right product as I can a t-shirt allows me a lot of opportunity for personalization. So would you rather decorate one jacket where you can make $20 to $30 per piece, or be able to decorate 10 to 20 t-shirts? They're the same amount of time, the same amount of effort at the heat press. So sometimes you can sell a lot less as far as the quantity goes if you spend your energy and attention merchandising and selling these high-end items. So I have a jacket over here I'm going to grab and bring over. That's a really good example of this. So this particular jacket has, it's a nylon-based fabric, and I'm showing both things. One, I'm showing that I can decorate the jacket, which is a nice opportunity, and two, I'm showing the personalization that is on there with Coach John, or it could be any personalization element. So 2 print locations, an upsell to get some personalization on it, and just decorating some higher end items is going to give you opportunities. And that works for whatever market you're in. That was a sports market option. That's kind of a transitional piece of outerwear where it's a lighter jacket for the fall season that we're approaching. So I would recommend start looking at outerwear from your blank apparel supplier and start thinking about how can I order some of these higher end pieces in, show customization, because a lot of times customers may not have it in their budget to buy a more expensive t-shirt, but they may have it in the budget to have a higher end item that not everybody's bidding on or trying to sell to. So it helps make you more profit and alleviate some of the competition. The next piece is any item. So any fabric and any item are 2 really key pieces, and I think they're related when you talk about heat printing. So we're looking at wearables, and wearables like jackets are fairly easy to get on the heat press and decorate. But when you can start talking about these other types of items that you can fit on the heat press, you start to have a lot less competition. So this particular one incorporates a glitter flake personalization onto a purse. Something like this is easily customized with the appropriate heat press. And so making sure you have the right accessories for the job, investing your time to learn how to heat print unique locations and unique items is a big benefit. So here's a cooler bag. So you think of back to school season and lunch boxes and these sorts of opportunities. You think of the clear backpack trend that's going on. You can source these items, you can fit them up on the heat press, and we've been doing a lot of video content that's out there on Stahls.com or on our YouTube channel that shows how with heat printing you can make anything if you have the right heat press and the right transfer for the job. And so I think that's a big way you can stand out in your business as any item. I'm going to pause for a second to look to see if there's any questions. I know I tend to talk quick, so we're going through a lot of content in a short amount of time. I just want to give you the benefits of heat printing so you can take a few of these and maybe think, how can I incorporate this into the markets that I'm selling to or trying to sell to stand out from everybody else that I'm competing with. So let's head back to the presentation. The next thing I want to talk about is unique finishes. And so whether that's reflective, foil, pattern material, flock material, there are glitter material, there are so many unique finishes that are easily achievable with heat printing, once again, with the same amount of time and effort at the heat press. So if you're only merchandising basic finishes to your customer, you're potentially leaving money on the table. If you can start thinking of how I can show my existing customers unique finishes, I believe you can make more profit on those same garments by upgrading the finish, But another key thing is look at the finish and think about what new markets I can reach with that finish. So I tend to look at a product like reflective, and I'm like, yeah, I can sell reflective probably into an existing elementary school, and they may want that for a backpack or some unique application. Maybe I can sell that to them once or twice a year, right? And then they're going to go back to some basic finishes. So the variety is interesting, but when I look at reflective through the lens of what markets command reflective finishes, because now I can do that with my heat press, I start to think of a whole market that is cycling or runners, or that sort of fitness market that may be outdoors in low light conditions. I start to think of any municipalities that may be in my area, whether that's police, fire, emergency responders that could have a market for reflective. I start to think of those businesses that may do landscaping in the summer, or grass cutting, whatever it may be, that are out in low light conditions, whether that's early in the morning or late at night. You start to think of these opportunities when you approach a finish, whether that's reflective like I just outlined, or the unique opportunities available with glitter. And there are just a lot of angles in your own community that are right out your back door that you may not have called on before, or perhaps you called on with a basic finish. Now what happens when I combine some of these things that we're talking about? What if I showed them a reflective on a jacket with an opportunity for personalization? Then you start to reach a lot more. You start to stand out versus everything else that they've ever seen and that's been calling on them. And then one point I want to connect to this that's on the board is creative placement, because I feel like this one is really underutilized. And so when you look at creative placement, this is more than just the items that you can print. This is really the locations that you can print. And when you look at why somebody would even buy decorated apparel in the first place, is because they have an organization that they want to represent, they have a sponsor that needs to be represented, they have a brand that needs to be represented. So start thinking through, how can I take it and create a variation of perhaps the front logo that's already created? How can I take just a little element of their logo or their branding and pop it onto a cuff on a sleeve on a jacket? A really cool sample that I saw here that was, how can I take this, and this is actually on the inside of this zip-up jacket, and add personalization in a unique location that would be extremely difficult to embroider or screen print. How can I do a back shoulder placement or something unique that really goes with the construction of the garment to make it look like it was thought of in the design of the garment? That's really the benefit you have with heat printing, is I can take any construction of item, and I really don't care if there's seams next to it, whatever it may be, with the right technique and learning that I can use a heat printing pillow inside of the garment so the seams absorb into the garment. Now I can hit print locations that other shops couldn't even dream of. And that's going to help my business stand out in a way that's also going to help the customer enhance their brand visibility. And so when you start to think about it in those terms, now all of a sudden you have something very powerful that can't be competed with by other people in the area that aren't putting the time in to think like this. So that's something I want you to consider probably most out of this presentation, is how can I leverage placement at my heat press to hit print locations. It helps you stand out, and if you associate a value to those print locations, it helps you generate more revenue per piece as well, which helps you make more money with heat printing. All right, there's a question that came in, so I want to take that before I move on to the next slide. Let's see, what's the vinyl on the mint shirt behind you? What would you recommend as a replacement for the discontinued glaze vinyl? I think you answered your question. So that is our new Chroma Bling product behind me. Always do that, right? So complete turnaround on this particular shirt. It's so difficult. I don't know if you've ever noticed when you're looking at yourself in the camera and you're like referencing the wrong direction. I can't get that no matter what. But this is our new Chroma Bling material. If you visit our Stahls TV YouTube page, Jenna just did a really nice video that showcases this product. And that's an example of how you can leverage a unique finish that can stand out, show something before the next guy shows it to do something different. So that would be a good replacement for the glaze material that was discontinued. All right, I think we're caught up on questions. All right, so the other big thing with heat printing is full color. And so when you look at logos that are out there in the market, usually a screen printer that's not doing 4-color process and doesn't have a direct-to-garment printer tries to simplify a customer's logo to keep it cost-effective, to keep it to 1 to 2 colors. So in this particular case with heat printing, there are a variety of full-color digital transfers that you can use to make sure you match the customer's exact logo. And so that will allow you the ability to create exactly what they want. Or if you're creating the logo for them, it'll allow you to design a logo in such a way with color gradients and fades and these sorts of things that won't be able to be replicated easily. So the whole thing we're trying to do is we're trying to build insulation. I call it insulation around our offer. And by building this sort of insulation around our offer, these are things that can't be competed with easily or knocked off by the next guy just at a lower price. And this is going to help us keep our work profitable and really scale the business in a way that's sustainable when we're known as the quality supplier that can do things that other shops can't. So I would encourage you, instead of getting down into the weeds of the $5 t-shirt, think about how you can be different and offer this unique value through what your heat press can do. And then the last item that I have sort of on the why heat printing, at least for today, is the high-end looks in seconds. So the idea that you can get products like SimStitch that look like they're sewn on. You can even combine the full color and get a sublimated twill that looks like it is a fabric-based product that just heat applied, and all of this is just applied with the heat press. There's no really crazy way to do it. You just make sure you get the right time, temperature, or pressure, and all of a sudden I am making these items. So while you're thinking of questions, I want to walk through the back wall here and show you a couple of these concepts brought to life in our samples. So we're going to start over here. So on this particular jacket, once again, a high-end item, there are 2 things that we did that combined the full color element, also the high-end looks in seconds. So on the initial, the R, which I guess a customer could pick their initial unless this is the school initial, is SimStitch. So it looks like it's sewn on. It's actually a twill-based product with a laser-etched edge to the stitch that you can buy in kits from us, or you can send us artwork and we can make it for you, and you can just heat apply it down. So that's one great option. The other thing you see here with this unique placement on the upper sleeve is you see a CAD Prints Permatwill graphic. So it's a full color logo. It's all a single layer. It's actually a fabric that's just been heat applied on. You can order these over at Stahls.com. It's a $25 order minimum. We just price it per number of square inches in the design, and you just receive it and heat press it. You just have to have a heat press that can get to the sleeve location on this jacket to make this look come to life. We're going to move over and we're going to talk about the sample that was asked about earlier. This gives you an example of how you can upgrade your finish. This is a Chroma Bling product that has a really nice, if you look close, it's like a glittery metallic effect to it. So it's a cool look. It comes in one color because it's so unique and it changes based on the fabric it's been applied to. So this is a way to create something completely different. I would consider using this as just a way to swap out a standard color logo and offer something different, especially when you're talking to those clients that value the bling factor on their looks. We're going to come down here, assuming you can get this one in frame. Yep, and this is a reflective, so you can kind of see it reflecting light back to the source. It almost looks white on the camera. Reflective materials are one of the easiest, right? Because most people will accept a silver reflective as a replacement for the white or black in their logo. And so it's a way just to show a neutral color, which can work across any logo and have a look that stands out and even adds a visibility element to it. So you start to hit these print locations. Here's another upper shoulder print location, but you could easily do the bottom cuffs, a back location, and you can have that garment stand out from every angle, and hitting the arms makes the reflectiveness stand out when somebody's walking, get that reflectivity back to the source. Over here, you're seeing Patterns, which is a full color product in glitter incorporated into this 2-color design. So once again, leveraging unique finishes. And you also see something really cool, which is a clear material that we sell on the sleeve that almost gives a wet look. And this calls out, it says Huskies on the sleeve. It's tough to read from this angle, but you get something that kind of stands out, whether you can read it up close or not. It just gives you something different. It's down the sleeve as well. So fall, winter sleeve locations are big for sure. Spirit wear is huge as we look to kick off football season. Most NFL training camps are starting up. College is getting ready to come back. People are starting to think about football. And so merchandising these looks right now, it's the perfect time, whether that's outerwear that a fan can wear to the game, hoodies, whatever it may be. Here we have a full color graphic. Once again, all in a single layer. We have a fade that's going into the graphic that's been designed, and full color is your secret weapon. This is extremely tough, especially when you talk about a delicate performance wear fabric to do with any other method, because screen printing full color or multicolor is difficult, especially when you add in some delicate fabrics. It becomes even more challenging. And then the last sample I want to show while we're on the board is personalization. It's backpack season. This shows you a way to incorporate this is a pink reflective. It's called our high vis color reflective. We have the sort of monogram with the child's name incorporated, and I've seen people decorate the straps of the backpacks as well. So lots of opportunities to stand out. So I'm going to look at some questions coming in, and then I kind of want to walk you through some of the buckets so you can just understand where you may want to look for different heat printing products to make these come to life. Taylor asks, is the high tax similar to the fashion film? So product that's being asked about is our Premium Plus high tack product, which is basically a sticky backed, really soft heat transfer vinyl. I'd say it is similar to fashion film. Premium Plus feels softer on the garment than fashion film, and I'd say fashion film is slightly more forgiving if you don't have a sharp blade on the cutter, but I think those two could be interchangeable. Usually customer prefers one or the other, and when they prefer one, they're usually pretty passionate about it. And what is the clear material on the sleeve? That is the SuperTech Clear. That particular one is the gloss product. So that one's kind of hidden on the website, so let me pull up the website here and show you how to get to that one. And I'll pull up the Stahls Canada site. I believe it's on here as well, because I know Mike is asking from Canada. Yeah, so it's under the CAD color product. So it's normally a product that's designed to be printed and cut, which it can be, but you can get the SuperTech Matte Clear, which is almost looks like it's etched into the garment, like laser etched garment, or you can get the Gloss Clear, which gives the wet look that you saw. And it's in the same location under CAD color vinyl on the US site as well. And let's see. The wet look, so same question is the wet look, and that is the clear gloss material. So want to make sure I hit these couple things, because I think the other thing with heat printing to make the most money is selecting the right products. I want to run through just a quick, maybe like 10 minutes longer of pros, cons of the different buckets so you can make sure you get the right product. So when you look at CADCUT heat transfers, this is what some call heat transfer vinyl. CADCUT is the Stahls branded term for this. One of the finished product advantages of CADCUT, you can load it on a vinyl cutter, you can cut it on demand, or you can order it pre-cut from us, is I can get these variety of effects and finishes like the glitter and the reflective and the chroma bling product. It's great for personalization, so I can cut as little as just one, a monogram, a hashtag, a player name and number, in low quantities, which means I can do, you know, a few pieces or 6 pieces cost effectively, and it's on demand. I can completely cut to order. Some of the weaknesses of this product is not ideal for extremely fine detail. I know some of you do a heck of a lot of detail on products and you're putting in the time to weed it, so that's another way to stand out. But for most businesses, they don't prefer to spend that much time in weeding, so we caution against going too fine on the detail. And little economies of scale, that means basically if I do 1 or 1 million, it's going to be pretty darn close to the same cost to produce it. So as you get into like 48 pieces, 36 pieces, it's going to become more cost effective to move to our next category, which is the screen printed transfer. And then lastly, additional colors require cost labor. So if I want to do a 2-color look like that Husky Pride shirt you saw with the Husky head out of patterns and then the Husky Pride glitter flake, that requires 2 completely different cutting steps and application steps. It is not a full color technology. Screen printed transfers, the reason I chose to put this one second is because I consider this in CADCUT a spot color technology. So the benefit of screen printed transfers, of course, it is screen printing, so it is the #1 identified finish. This is where you order from Transfer Express. We screen print it onto a paper and you just heat press it. And I have Plastisol ink on my t-shirt, the same stuff the screen printers use. This is great for high detail, and as quantity goes up, cost goes down. So if you have a larger order that's a repetitive design, like the Bay Rockets design you see on the screen, and I need to do 50 of those, it's going to be much more cost effective to order a screen printed transfer and take me a lot less time in my business than cutting and weeding. So value your time, especially if you're a small shop. You wear many hats. It's important that you don't spend time that you don't need to weeding when you can just order a screen printed transfer. Finished product weaknesses, not ideal for personalization or low quantities. If you're into the effects, sometimes if you want that glitter effect, heat transfer vinyl, CADCUT is the only way to go. Screen printed transfers have a much smaller variety of effects and limitations for full color on screen printed transfers. You can do everything you want to in these 5 buckets. This is why I'm showing them to you. Next is CAD color digital transfers. This is what's commonly referred to as print and cut material. So typically the logo is printed on a large format printer with a various assortment of ink technologies. If you're buying the printer from us, solvent or eco-solvent printing is the most popular that's out there for good sort of business sales, longevity of the print. You can do this on a desktop inkjet printer, but the results aren't that great. That's more for like maybe like a tourist t-shirt or something like that, or just a gag gift. So the finished product advantages of high quality digital transfers like we're showing you here, there are effects like glitters that I can get. It's good for personalization in low quantities. I can do the on-demand printing, and it's unlimited colors and gradients without cost. So basically your price is the price. Doesn't matter whether there's 3 colors or 300 colors or full color or photo, I can achieve it with digital transfers. The weakness is if you're not smart with your artwork, it can become heavy. Putting a big patch in a full front graphic on the front of a t-shirt is going to feel like a big patch on the front of a t-shirt. So making sure you create some void areas in your design that are weeded out so the shirt can show through is important. And then of course, high detail is going to be challenging here as well, since it is a printable heat transfer vinyl, so to speak. And then this is an up-and-coming category. This is our Stretch Litho product from Transfer Express, where we get a digital screen-printed transfer solution. So it's the best of both worlds, where you get the full-color printing on top of screen printing. So this can give you a simplified workflow. Really, I could do one-color art through here. There's a smarter way to order it, but I could do it. Certainly, if it gets into 3 or 4 colors and starts to get into quantity, this is going to be a big benefit for you. It'll do the high detail, and you'll get the cost reduction. And so if you haven't checked out Stretch Litho from Transfer Express, I'd highly recommend looking at that category. And then last but not least is Flex Style. This is just a dimensional heat transfer, so I can get a nice look, something higher end. And this is kind of in a bucket of its own. It's just a way for you to upgrade without having basically without having to cut it or make it yourself. And I have a sample of that on the heat press that I want to show you that came out of a book. And so you can see this is actually texture and dimension to the logo, and it's been heat applied here. And you can get Flex Style in a heat applied version, or actually have it on the front of my book in the pressure sensitive version, which is like a sticker that you can put onto items. So the moral of the story is you can do it with heat printing. There is a ton of different options that are available to you as a decorator. All you need is a heat press, and don't cheap out on that heat press. Get a quality heat press. That way you can stay in business. You can hit all of these items, all of these print locations. Heat printing is your secret weapon, and we wish you the best of luck in sales coming up for the rest of this year. Now, I'm going to stay on. I know I ran a little bit over, and I'm going to answer some questions, but this concludes the presentation part of today's morning show. All right, so what size material is the printable vinyl from Eddie? So Eddie, we carry a variety of printable vinyls under our CAD color category on the website, and you can get it as narrow as 20 inches to as wide as 54 or 59 inches as stock sizes, depending on the product. So lots of choices there. Good, you guys are probably just catching your breath. Hopefully this inspired you, has given you some ideas to leverage the benefits in your heat printing business. We'll keep a lookout for questions throughout the day. So thanks for watching the Stahls TV Morning Show.